I built the Lego Haunted Mansion from Disneyland with a full working ride. Keep watching if you want to see it all. All right, it is finally here. It's finally completed. This is my Lego creation for the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland. I've got the full working ride here, as well as this Haunted Mansion riding below the mansion and the Disneyland Railway running right behind it, just like it does in the actual version. I've got the whole ride underneath here. Essentially the reasoning for that, the stretching room, which we'll get to later, is actually an elevator in the real ride that takes you down so it can go underneath the railway and then to the ride behind it. So with this version, I just thought I wanted it to be best display format, and so rather than having the ride behind it, I thought it would look better to just have it underneath. So when it gets to that stretching room portion, it just takes you to the bottom, and then the whole ride is underneath here, so that this way you can see everything from whatever view you look at it. You can see the exterior, but you can also see the ride beneath it. On the back, I've also got the Grim Grinning Ghosts come out to socialize, just since it was blank there, and it's at that graveyard scene where they're singing that song. So aside from the Tower of Terror, this has definitely been my biggest project yet that I've completed. This is the start to my next big project of building New Orleans Square. And so let's get started, first looking at the exterior details and the waiting queue. First, some outside details. At the top you can see the ship there. Here's a look at the roof. Wraps around. I had to include the iconic super tall trees that are there right next to the mansion. There's the exit, and then a bunch of other trees around, and this gated off area for the Haunted Mansion. I pretty much just used a bunch of different sand green pieces to get this gate, I guess, that's along all the balconies and decks here for the ride. All right, so let's go from the start. We have the line. Here's that entry gate. The worker. At the line, you pass by this carriage. See some tombstones, some lampposts here. And then you just kind of follow this path by the train, and that takes you onto this deck. Which will eventually get you inside. Rather than a lot of my other builds where you have to kind of open things apart to see inside, I wanted to build this more as a better, easier to view without having to move things. So the walls are all open for the rooms to see. So right here, it's where you enter that front room. There's a chandelier, and if I move this tree out of the way, I can get a better look inside. just a chandelier and then a couple different entry points for the stretching room. There's 2 different ones. So I just built one stretching room, but we got both entry points there. From there, we go to the stretching room. And to get there, the skeleton arm moves a door. So doorway goes straight there. And just a tiny bit of each picture is showing at the start, and the ceiling is right there. This goes back in. So for the stretching room, I'm actually going to take you back here too. This is kind of a lever to move the stretching room. And so it's actually acts as a bit of a counterweight as well. And that's why it's able to just sit here and still be at the starting position. But as I move this up, the stretching room goes down. If I move it down, the stretching room goes back up. Before continuing on to the ride, there's one more part of the stretching room. So in the back here, I pull this. It actually opens up the ceiling so that you can see the hanging man there. And there's also an opening just above it for a better view of that. See the stretching room below. And then, of course, you can close the ceiling back up. And they can continue on the ride. And from there, you get on the ride. So we'll get this part back. There's a few pictures. I have one there. And then a couple more. Then there's the statues of the heads that follow you wherever you go. A lot of different lights hanging around, a bit of spider webs. And so finally this takes you onto the ride. So real quick first, before showing the ride moving, we'll just go through the different ride scenes. At the very start, there's that stairway. Next up, you got the endless hallway. There's some hanging chandeliers. I used some different pieces to make kind of the spider web connecting. Next up, you got this area full of plants and the coffin, the hand reaching out, which takes us to the hallway. I wanted this to feel kind of like a closed-in hallway where it's walls on both sides and everything, so that's why I've got the outside wall. It's right there. You can look down and then kind of feel like you're really in the hallway. The walls on both sides. There's the grandfather clock at the end, and this one has that shadow of a hand, or those trees that kind of look like a hand, whatever it is, that go over it. So I just have that tiny claw piece. So then if you're looking from there, it kind of looks like that. Then we have Madame Leota's room. The crystal ball there. And all these floating instruments. There's a little floating table there. I wanted this to really feel like they're just all over, so that's why they're on all sides of the walls, and got that one in the middle just hanging up there. Next up, we have the ballroom scene, and to make the ghosts appear, I used the Pepper's Ghost effect, just in a Lego form. The Pepper's Ghost effect is the real effect used in the real ride as well. Basically, these figures just reflect off the glass, and they show up a lot more clear whenever there's more light on them. So as you can see with some light, you can kind of see those ghosts appear on the glass pieces, and when there's more light you can see them better. But there are a lot of other details in this ballroom. Chandelier here. There's the two paintings of the jewelers. There's that other deck balcony over there. On the other side of this glass, we can see a bit more. Table. Let's see. Over there, the coffin's outside. And of course, on this side, the chairs and the organ. Next after that, we have the attic scene. So you can see there's lots of just random details cluttered around here. There's the bride and headless groom photo. And then of course the ghost bride there with the knife at the end. After that, we've got the scene where it's starting to head outside, and first we have this ghost, I guess, where his head kind of keeps reappearing in that container to his actual head. And this takes us right outside to the graveyard scene. Which is the biggest scene. So there's lots of ghosts around here. This is also when they're singing, grooming ghosts come out to socialize. So I have that there at the bottom. Right before entering, there's the man and his dog, both scared. I've got some other ghosts. There's that tree with the face on it. Then as you enter, first we have these 5 statues with the heads that are all singing. So I just built them facing us so that it's easier as the viewer to see. There's those heads that keep popping up behind the gravestones. Over here we've got the band playing the music. In the back, there's lots of details. I think there's a ghost riding a bicycle at one point. There's all these ghosts. One sitting in a coffin. The teapot that's pouring itself. There's those guys in the back. There's a better look at them. There's the mummy at the end. Ghost dogs, some more gravestones. And so, I mean, I pretty much just tried to incorporate as much detail from the ride as possible. There's just a ton of stuff all over the place. And a lot of ghosts. And then finally that kind of takes you to this last scene. This last room, we see the hitchhiking ghosts. And so at the end here, there's the mirror where it shows a ghost in your seat with you. And finally, that takes us to the exit. And on your way up, you see that bride ghost one last time up there. So this is probably the most complex ride system I've built so far. As you can see, the track goes in totally different directions all the time. And even here it kind of goes up and down a bit. So it's all over the place, but basically I had the tank chain link pieces below. And then just that little opening for these to connect. So the whole ride moves right here with this. And that also moves these two ghosts here. They kind of fly over you and around as you're in the graveyard scene. So the ride does move very slowly, but it moves, and I guess the real ride moves very slow anyways. Back at the end of the ride here, there's the exit. The exit would come up all the way over here and connect back to this exit right there. But there's really not that much to see in the exit. I mean, it pretty much just looks like what I have in here. And that would just block the view of all of this where it's already pretty cluttered. So normally I don't like to not include connecting points like that, but I figured at this time, since I'm building this whole thing to be viewed the best possible, it just made more sense. From this exit, you can see that light there. That comes out here and takes you back. There'd be another exit path up here, but it all kind of brings you back to the start. On the back side of the Haunted Mansion, just in an extra opening here with extra space, I included kind of a storage spot for some of the Nightmare Before Christmas version. Some of that set up, which I will do later on. I'll build the Nightmare Before Christmas version as well, but decided to just have some of that there with that extra space. And of course on the back I have a section of the railroad, because the railroad passes right behind the mansion and the rail thing. That's actually why they needed the stretching room, so that it could go underneath the railroad for the ride. So you can't see too much from here. I just used the set for the Disneyland Railroad. I think it worked pretty well. Something I really appreciate about that set too is that it actually gets it up to scale. So it's just like the real thing, and it can fit a lot of minifigures. It's not a super small version, and I appreciate that. So I just kept it the same. Unfortunately, I could only fit that first train car on there with this space. And so here's a look without the train on the tracks there. Essentially, it kind of just comes around and goes into this cave while it's behind the mansion. So I have a bit of that cave effect. There's really not too many details here. As it's going in, it has that little stoplight and the gate outside next to the mansion. That is pretty much it as far as the railroad goes. As I build more of New Orleans Square, I'll have more of this track and the station, so that all connects. But for now, it's just right here behind the Haunted Mansion. So for now, this is the first section of the Lego New Orleans Square, the whole Haunted Mansion build. So to build this ride, I originally had it in a bit of a different setup. I was building the mansion out in front with the whole ride behind it. And I was using these same tank chain link pieces, but I just had them above with the carts below and walls on both sides. As you can tell, it just doesn't look as clean. and it wasn't as good for viewing purposes, but then we changed to this ride layout where the track system is underneath and then they just sit on the ground there. And this way, I mean, you can see everything a whole lot better. It just looks a lot more clean. And so then we got this track and started building up the walls using different pieces to angle that track in different ways and angle those tank chain link pieces to go in different directions. And after that, it was just adding more details. Then there were the pictures. I actually just built each of these out of Legos and then printed it so that you could see it in Lego. And after that, it was all just about building it up to finally get the mansion back on top. And now it's all together. So that is the full ride, my creation for the Lego Disneyland Haunted Mansion. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss more Lego rides that I'll build. You can also check out other Lego Disneyland and Disney World rides that I've built. I'm going to keep building more. Next up, we're just going to keep building New Orleans Square. And so, thanks again for watching. We'll catch you next time.